Hey, all of us family. My name's Ashley Earwood. I'm coming to you from Northern California today, and it is such an honor to teach alongside Sybil for Volume 6 and remind you and teach you today the importance of recounting to remember. I'm so thankful to Rachel and the All of Us family for inviting me to share with you today. You know, when I saw that Volume 6 was coming, I felt a tug of the Holy Spirit that it was time to share. And so I took a few moments to communicate with Rachel, and as I began to pray and journal and just fill the pages of my journal of moments in the last 6 to 9 months that I've seen God's faithfulness at work, I was forced to kind of confront a little bit of a tension and a challenge that I want to invite you into with me today. And I realized as I was documenting God's faithfulness that many of those moments over the past few months weren't mine to share. And I want you to just think today about what that might look like in your life. There are so many times where we see God's faithfulness at work, but it might be in our marriage or in our children's lives or in our teams, in our leadership, in our churches, in private relationships. And they're really not ours to share, at least not yet. And so I reached out to Rachel and we talked a little bit back and forth, but as I continued to pray, I just felt like the Lord was in it, because as I sat with this tension of going, I know God's faithfulness, I've seen it for myself, but it might not be mine to share right now. I want to welcome you into that space with me today, because I feel like God revealed himself just in a deeper and more intimate way, even to me, as I prepared to share with you and the All of Us family. I am just a huge advocate for women sharing their stories. I love recounting to remember, because I believe that we can build each other up and encourage one another. I believe that's how we lead people to Jesus, by telling of the goodness of God in our own lives and our own experiences. I always come back to Revelation, where it says that the believers overcame the enemy by two things: the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. So we know it is so important to recount publicly. But I want to invite you into the space today with me of remembering privately, and the importance of remembering and recognizing that we have a God who is so personal and so intimate, right? He's Emmanuel, God with us. And in this world that we live in right now, where it is so tempting to make everything in our lives public. You all know, you all follow that lady on Instagram that overshares, right? And it's like TMI. We did not need to know all of that about your life. There's a tendency, particularly I think for some of us who live in this online space and communities that we build on social media, to turn everything in our spiritual lives into a quote or a blog post or a sermon or just a talking point at your next Bible study. And I'm reminded of Mary in these moments where I go, yes, we should recount publicly God's faithfulness, but we should also remember and ponder privately who God is just for me. Who God is and how he has shown up just for you. There's this verse in Luke 1 where we're learning about Jesus and his birth. And as Jesus has been born, the angels have showed up to the shepherds. They've come to the stable to see the baby that the angels talked about. It says in Luke 2, verses 18 and 19, it says, all who heard the shepherds' stories were astonished, but Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. She treasured them in her heart. And then again, at the end of chapter 2, after we hear and are shared the story of Jesus, actually Mary losing Jesus, and he goes to the temple and they find him there. It says that his mother treasured up all these things in her heart. And I'm really challenged by that today, and I hope that you are too, because of all the people on earth with Jesus, Mary was arguably his closest human relationship. She likely had a front row seat to so many moments of seeing God's character and his faithfulness and his power and his majesty. And yet she chose, rather than screaming it from the rooftops, to ponder and treasure things in her heart that only she knew, that were only privy to her. The shepherds were shouting from the mountaintops. There is a moment for us to recount publicly, and I encourage you to do that wherever you can, whenever you can. But I also want to encourage you today to remember privately. We have a God who is intimate and faithful, who leaves the 99 to go after the one. And sometimes, friends, those moments are just for you. So friends, be encouraged today. I hope that you can be like Mary, that you can remember, that you can ponder, that you can treasure God's goodness and faithfulness. Take a moment, pray, just sit, journal, think about God's goodness and faithfulness in your life. And then enjoy the fact that sometimes those moments are just for you.